Today I'm gonna tell you the story of one of the most important theme parks in Europe and the place that has brought the most visitors to Spain. This place became the first ever universal European resort, and 25 years after, it's still relevant and modern. Up to that time, there were only amusement parks in Spain, meaning that there was no set theme to them. So a project like this, based on the American way, would work really well with the Spanish public. Just before the start of this project, Disney was looking for the perfect place to build their new European resort, and they finally were between France and Spain. And in Spain, the place that had the biggest chance to be chosen was a place between Vilaseca and Salou. But finally Disney opted for France, meaning that this land was untouched and unused. But this place could be used to build the first ever theme park in Spain. The original plans for this project were in hands of Javier de la Rosa and the American brewing company Busch, and they had to find the right investor that would be interested in a project like this. The American company Busch had the experience in managing theme parks because they were the owners of Busch Gardens, and Javier de la Rosa had the experience because he was the owner of Tibidabo, a theme park in Barcelona. And because they were a joint society, even though Busch was only at 20%, they decided to name the park Tibigardens, a mix between Busch Gardens and Tibidabo. But also other names were thought, like De la Rosa's Peninsula. During the process of designing the park, every single detail was taken in consideration in relation to the architecture and the cultures that the places were representing. All the designers wanted to make sure that all the places were as close as possible to the place they were trying to recreate, so the guests could have a unique experience they couldn't have anywhere else. Rocks were brought from around the world, there were exploration trips to China and Mexico, and they were inspired by pictures from the American Gold Rush. A very meticulous job that just wanted to guarantee the quality of the theming of the park. On April 28, 1992, the first stone laying ceremony was held, and this started a construction process of 3 years. In this process, 4 million kilos of steel were used, 1,000 kilometers of electric wiring, and more than 20 million square meters of land were paved. Finally, on May 1st, 1995, the park opened its doors, but not as Tibigardens, but as PortAventura. Now having this park, Spain didn't lack a theme park, and a new era where theme parks would start to emerge in Spain was about to start. PortAventura opened its doors hoping to become Southern Europe's best tourist destination. The park featured 5 different theme areas that were based on different cultures and places: Mediterranean, Polynesia, China, Mexico, and the Far West. Welcoming the guests, we first have Mediterranean. This area imitates the image of a typical fisherman's village in the coast of Catalonia or Valencia. And when the park opened, it only had stores, restaurants, and the general park services. Here we also find the park's main lake that, completed with canoes and fishing boats, it completes the whole theming of the area. The next stop is Polynesia, an area surrounded by 600 palm trees brought from the islands of Tahiti and Fiji. This island paradise surrounds the guests with natural sounds like birds, waterfalls, or rivers. Here we find Tutuki Splash, an intimate shoot-the-chute that recreates an indigenous ritual in honor of the goddess Pele. This ride became really popular among the guests because when the boat falls down, it splashes 1,000 liters of water that on hot days refreshes both riders and non-riders. Apart from the rides, we also find shows here. One of them features typical dancing from remote islands, and another one is an exhibit of exotic birds. Following the tour offered by PortAventura, we are now in China. To access this area, visitors have to cross a section of the Great Wall of China. This is a replica in both materials and shape of a section located in the region of Badaling. Then in the Forbidden City Plaza, we find the Great Imperial Theater. Here in China, we find Dragon Khan, the icon of PortAventura. Up to 2002, this was the only roller coaster in the world to feature 8 inversions, and also the one that had the biggest vertical loop. Drawing the silhouette of a dragon, this ride was no doubt the most popular of the park and definitely the one that brought the most visitors. And as an interesting fact, this ride was originally planned to be a Vekoma coaster, but the project from B&M won in the end. After passing through China, we find Mexico. Here, a reproduction of the Chichen Itza temple is found in the center along with other Olmec and Mayan sculptures. There is also a roller coaster in this area, this one by Aerodynamics, and it's called El Diablo, Tren de la Mina, and the theming of the ride simulates a silver mine. But the theming of the area is not only limited to Mayan Mexico, because if we keep going, we will find pre-colonial and post-colonial Mexico, offering shows, a canteen, and a high-end restaurant in Hacienda El Charro. We continue through America, but now we move to the United States, specifically to the far west. This area is based on a typical western town during the Gold Rush era. The main street itself is a recreation of the town of Penitence, Texas, and we find various locations that were replicated from the original places, like a cemetery or a school. And as a fun fact, the tombstones in this cemetery have the names of those who helped design this area. The Grand Canyon is also present in this area, and riders can go through its rapids or also travel down the Colorado River on top of logs of wood that are on their way to a sawmill. PortAventura opened its doors with a fairly high number of attractions, and it wasn't until 2 years after its opening that they would add a new ride. That was actually 2 rides. On March 17, 1997, Stampeda opened. This was a 2-rail wooden roller coaster that would simulate the races that were done in the past by cart to get ownership of new land. This coaster was designed by Custom Coasters, and it featured within its structure another wooden roller coaster, a little smaller and more familiar, and its name was Tomahawk, making the overall structure of both Stampeda and Tomahawk a pretty impressive one. Stampeda opened being the tallest and longest wooden roller coaster in Europe, and it was a great choice by the park. In 1998, Universal acquired a high amount of shares of the park, so the name changed from being PortAventura to Universal's PortAventura, and became the first Universal resort in Europe. In 1999, the show Fiesta Aventura was premiered. It was performed in the center of the lake in Mediterranean, and it was a multimedia show with pyrotechnics, water, lights, and sounds. It was also considered to be the best live show in the world. This year, there was also a very important change to PortAventura, the addition of Woody Woodpecker as the official mascot of the park. Then in the year 2000, and coinciding with the 5th anniversary of the park, Sea Odyssey was opened, a simulator-based ride that would take guests into the depths of the ocean. An investment of 36 million euros was made in the area of Mexico to build a new experience for the guests. Templo del Fuego. This attraction opened in 2001 and was a little sister to Poseidon's Fury in Universal Studios' Islands of Adventure. And it's very clear that they wanted to export the technology used in Poseidon's Fury and bring it to the new ride in PortAventura. During this same time, the park administration decided to add the seasons of Christmas and Halloween. This was done to make the park a year-round destination and not only a summer destination. A year later, in 2002, the first addition to the park was planned and built, PortAventura Aquatic Park. This 34,000 square meter water park was inspired by islands in the Caribbean and had numerous attractions including slides, pools, beaches, and an indoor area. In addition to the water park, 3 new hotels were opened: Hotel PortAventura in 2003 along with Hotel El Paso and Hotel Caribe in 2003. By this time, PortAventura was already established as a theme park, but with all these new additions, it could be now considered a complete resort. Universal completely abandoned the operations of the park in 2004, so the name went back to only PortAventura. Sadly, this was the first and last time we saw a Universal resort in Europe. With the park's 10th anniversary, it would start a new era of continuous building and renewing that would bring very important attractions that became emblems of the park. In 2005, Hurricane Condor was opened, a 115-meter freefall tower that was one of a kind because it had tilting gondolas, something that was unique in Europe. And reaching 115 kilometers per hour, this ride simulates the ritual of sacrifice after the Aztec god Hurricane. But the desire to build fast and impressive rides did not stop here. In 2007, Furious Baku would open in the Mediterranean area. This accelerator roller coaster built by Intamin is the only one in the world of the type wing, meaning that the riders are not on top of the tracks, but they are on the sides, allowing new and unique sensations. This coaster held the title of fastest roller coaster in Europe and fastest coaster with an inversion. 2008 arrives, and with it, the acquisition of the rides of Sesame Street and all of its characters. A year later, there were new additions to the resort, a convention center, and the Gold River Hotel. This hotel recreates in detail a town of gold miners, and its theming is incredible. Now, the acquisition of Sesame Street was only a part of a bigger plan, the construction of the sixth theme area of the park, Sesamo Aventura. This area opened in 2001 and it is dedicated to the little ones, and it offers a wider range of shows and attractions, and had a total cost of 15 million euros. Demonstrating its constant evolution, in 2012, and only 1 year after Sesamo Aventura opened, the park would invest 25 million euros in the construction of a new roller coaster, Shambhala, a unique attraction that was called to be the next icon of the park. This investment was the largest one the park had ever made in an attraction, and during its first year, it brought 2 million riders, making it a huge success. Upon opening, this ride was crowned the highest roller coaster in Europe, the one with the longest drop, and the fastest hypercoaster in Europe. This attraction is designed to resemble the Himalayan mountains, and with 5 camelbacks, it gives a lot of airtime moments. Along with Dragon Can, they now create a renovated skyline that can be seen from kilometers away. But the construction boom doesn't stop here. In 2013, PortAventura would renovate and expand its aquatic park, now called Costa Caribe. This new 14,000 square meter expansion would host the tallest slide in Europe, being 31 meters tall. And they also used the characters from Sesame Street in all of those attractions that were aimed for the little ones. In 2014, a new boat ride was opened in the area of China, Anchor, and it stands out because it's a very long ride and its theming is excellent. Later, and for the following 2 years, PortAventura would host the Cirque du Soleil, a show that helped bring 4 million visitors to the resort. And a year after, in 2015, the park would open the first high-end hotel, Lucy's Mansion. In 2017, a new huge addition to the park was opened, Ferrariland. This tiny theme park is entirely based in the history of Ferrari and its racing team, and it houses the fastest and tallest roller coaster in Europe. But I'm not gonna go too much into detail because I'm gonna have a video up very soon with all the details of this particular park. Finally, in 2019, the park announced the new addition to the Sesame Street area. This new ride, called Street Mission, is a trackless dark ride where riders can shoot at cookies that are both in screens and on physical sets. And since its opening, it's been a major success for the park. PortAventura does not stop. Since it opened its doors in 1995, it has continued to evolve and innovate. And 25 years later, it still feels like a modern park. It doesn't feel stuck in the past. Whether it's adding new attractions, new services, or new areas, it is a unique, fresh air experience that cannot be found in any other park in Spain. In my opinion, this park has been so successful because of its constant renovation and innovation. Otherwise, it would be a 1995 park stuck in the past that nobody would want to go to. And I'm sure this park can serve as a model to other theme parks in Spain that have the potential to become as successful as this one. Now you have to tell me, which is your favorite area of the park? Which is your favorite ride of the park? Please let me know everything in the comments down below, and please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See you soon!